Hi, this is Ed from the dailyrabbithole.com and the Outer Light channel on YouTube. Back again for January the 17th here with a whole bunch of strange things, including a warning by Julian Assange he's issued on Twitter about the effects of AI, as well as updates on the deadly flu that seems to be everywhere on the news at the moment. I think I might have it myself. Masculinity now seems to be problematic, more coming out there from universities. It seems that the innate things that make males male are not good for this world anymore. Also, children are bad for the earth, says Think. Trump's cognitive test, can you pass it? We'll have a look at one of the questions there, which Donald Trump amazingly scored a 30 out of it. That's a perfect score. Also, pictures of animals feeling snow for the first time. Look at that face. It's snow for the first time as a palate cleanser. We're going to take a look at those. But before I go on, I just want to thank everyone on patreon.com, everyone on Maker Support, everyone that sends me some Bitcoin or Litecoin. I put up a Litecoin address there because people were telling me it's expensive to send Bitcoin and that kind of defeats the purpose really. So I've got a Litecoin address there. Also on Steemit, and everyone that upvotes my votes on Steemit or supports my channel by giving even these videos a thumbs up or even putting a comment on the comment section, that all really does support my channel. So thank you to everyone that supports my work here. By the way, my video yesterday got demonetized for reasons I don't know. I sent in a review and then it says, well, it's demonetized by manual review. I'm not sure what was in the last video. Might have been my conversations about AI, because I'll tell you something, I've noticed a pattern. That's when I talk about AI, it always gets demonetized, etc. And it's very hard to get a review. Most time it seems to be confirmed. Of course, you have Eric Schmidt there, who was the head of Google, you know, really propagating the fact that AI is all good for us and not to worry, says everyone's a doom and gloomist. So I guess that's part of his hand in the overall architecture, is to make sure people don't talk about it. You know, what a strange thing it is, and that's what I went to the other video, was the abstractions in our world that make it very hard intellectually, given just the structures we live in order to resist very abstract things we can't understand. Well, the first news story here is from Julian Assange, editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks, expert on computers, obviously, for a long time. He's really at the echelons there of this kind of world. And also remember what I said about Julian Assange last time, or WikiLeaks. They were talking about, he was talking about people he knew, or something along these lines. Don't mean to butcher his words, but it was something about they had contacts within Google working in these places. So obviously, you know, off the books, they know a lot of stuff that isn't in the public domain yet. So let's have a look from their contacts. Let's have a look at the Julian Assange tweet. So we're just over at Julian Assange here, who's got this WikiLeaks hourglass here as his verification, because Twitter will not verify Julian Assange's account, no matter what. Isn't that strange? Well, this looks better than the check, in my opinion. It looks much better. So let's have a look at what Julian Assange here said 18 hours ago, retweeting there. Not sure if this is exactly his own words or not. I know he's gone on about artificial intelligence, but he hasn't been tweeting a whole lot, a little bit, you know, one a day. So this is a really strong tweet here. So let's take a look at this. Move this over to the side there for a moment, and let me just, I think I am coming down with the flu again, okay? It's amazing. You know, I've been working out too, so I'm not sure, but might be getting the flu again. Hold on 1 second, I'll be back. I'm just going to get a drink of water. Okay, I'm back. So let's read through this. The future of humanity is the struggle between humans that control machines and machines that control humans. So that's pretty, I think that's pretty good statement on that there. Says here, while the internet has brought about a revolution in our ability to educate each other, the consequential, sorry, that's a reading error there, democratic explosion has shaken existing establishments to their core. Bulging digital superstates such as Google, Facebook, and their Chinese equivalents, who are integrated with the existing order, have moved to re-establish discourse control. So stating about how they're controlling the narrative within society. This is not simply a corrective action. Undetectable mass social influence powered by artificial intelligence is an existential threat to humanity. I'll comment on all this afterwards. While still in its infancy, the geometric nature of this trend is clear. The phenomenon differs from traditional attempts to shape culture and politics by operating at a scale, speed, and increasingly at in a subtle way that appears highly likely to eclipse human countermeasures. So subtly there. Nuclear war, climate change, or global pandemics are existential threats that we can work through with discussion and thought. Discourse is humanity's immune system for existential threats. Can't read this because Twitter always covers the bottom of stuff with a grey box if you've got a cursor over it. Disease that infects the immune system are usually fatal, in this case at a planetary scale. So Julian Assange, if this is Julian Assange's words, I think they are. I mean, usually WikiLeaks or Julian Assange would put a quote down there of a person or something, right? So if Julian Assange is stating here that pretty much what he said in some audio I went into last year, well, it was this year actually, where he was talking about these kinds of things and how that it's really, change at a level of manipulation that's beyond a human's ability to see. So over an evolved period of time, we as people within our social environments develop a certain type of sensory apparatus that concentrates with a psychological apparatus that lets us concentrate on certain important things within our environment. Whether that's, learning how to defend against lions in the African plains, or, building the mechanics of learning how to live in a snow-covered landscape, all the things that are important in that world, to living in this society where we, have certain intellectual abilities to understand things. Well, this is outside all of our abilities to understand, really. I mean, there are people that can understand it, but for the majority of people, me included, who are pretty normal people, this stuff is beyond perception. I can comment on it based upon what other people are saying, and I can see it happening, but largely I don't really understand how far it goes. So you see this with Google, of course, even in my channel, instantly limited stating things. You probably note that my channel has taken, it grew a little bit this year, but over the last month probably, or 2 months, I've gotten maybe 500 or 1,000 subscribers. I can't remember the exact amount, probably more than that. But based upon the amount of views that you would think I'd get, you might expect I would get a bit more. But hey, you know what? My content for those people that aren't, haven't watched my other channels is probably pretty bland and boring. So I can kind of quantify that. But it's like the constant limited state of all my videos that limits the searchability for them, that limits all kinds of different things, right? Not just not ads appearing. And I fight every one of those. Most times I win. But it takes a couple of days before that happens. The main point is this is done with everything. So when you search for things, remember when Trump, whether you like Trump or not, when you're searching for Donald Trump's name as a presidential candidate, at one point last year before it was called out, Donald Trump's name didn't even appear in Google. At the top there under presidential candidates. I think I did a video on it. I can't remember. I've done a lot of videos. But that's a fact I checked for myself. A couple of days later, it turned back up in there. At the same time, if you've ever heard of Ron Paul, if you're in the United States, the same time, I know a lot of the 9/11 Truth movement got behind Ron Paul in 2008. And, you know, I was watching the elections myself. And Ron Paul's name, as been recorded into history, a lot of people commented on this, was not even mentioned in the broadcast of MSN. Now, MSN is run for the large extent back then by people. Now you have an algorithm that works via their perspective into all of these, information systems. So now it's just, you can blanketly stop people from even talking about things. On Twitter, you stop things from trending. On YouTube, you stop things from trending, and you penalize the people that talk about stuff. So this changes the information that people are allowed to look at. And remember, information changes people, puts them in a certain direction over the others. So this is like a sculptor, slowly working away at a piece of marble, changing it from how it was to how they want it. Okay, so this is the state really sitting there with the marble and shaping society. And artificial intelligence is doing that, and it's doing it in a way that's largely hard and invisible to most people. Stark warning there from Julian Assange, going on again what he was warning about in the videos. He was talking about this, months ago now. So, excuse me, I think I am coming down with the cold. Whatever. Artificial intelligence will be running the vaccine system soon in the health department, so it'll probably decide who to treat, right? It'll say, well, don't treat these people because they speak about certain things, put them to the back of the list. And then they'll provide abstract reasoning no one can understand, a bunch of reasons, maybe this person didn't have the right, had a rare blood type or something, or all these little measurement systems, but in actual fact it comes down to they just don't want those people to live. If you think it won't get to that stage, and that kind of level of management, who can know, because at that point we won't be able to understand it. Not even talking about here super intelligence, like a super AI that's conscious, just talking about the algorithms now. They're at that stage where they can do all these things, and they can learn all this stuff from all these people's behaviors, right? So not even getting into the part of them using like suggestion and word placement and showing you certain type of ads and phrases and things like that in Facebook and all those to slowly shape your opinion. Really, that's it in a nutshell. I'm not sure, of course, Julian Assange, if this is Julian Assange words laid out there. Anyway, let's go back to the main article here. Gone on about that for 13 minutes. So the flu's everywhere. I think I got it myself, as I said. Flu drives hospitals into war zone conditions. Tense on the streets in California. State of emergency in Alabama. And Boston is using Gatorade to plug shortages of IV drips. So it seems like the super flu, which is worldwide right now, is getting a lot of people sick. A lot of people are sick with this new form of influenza there, which is the flu in question. So, excuse me. So it states here, California hospitals have been compared to a war zone, with emergency tents used for major disasters set up in parking lots to treat patients suffering from this year's deadly flu outbreak. Now, I was following this for a bit, but for the most point I was going, yeah, they're just going on about things again, but it seems to be in all of the news media. And they're using Gatorade here, which is strange because of the fact that, California is in a first world country. The United States has a very good medical system. So how they have a shortage of IVs means that there must be a massive increase. So obviously it's not deadly like Ebola. These kinds of things, they strike down people that, are attuned to whatever this attacks, influenza, the lungs, all kinds of stuff like that, can put people in hospital. Not sure if it's got to do so much with the having a very weak immune system or not, because what you see sometimes if you have a very good immune system, such as the bird flu, your immune system is working so fast and it's moving all this stuff to your lungs that you end up drowning in your own fluid, hard to breathe. And so it's people with a very good immune system that were the victims of a lot of these things, like forms of the bird flu and things like that. So I'm not sure. Apparently the death toll, the flu is devastating 49 states here, and the death toll so far is 85 adults and 20 children, which isn't very massive in comparison to the population, like if it was Ebola or something, but something to watch out for. Make sure you get your vitamin C and lots of fluids, I guess. Again, it's everywhere. Here's another one. It's the super infectious Japanese flu, which is now spreading in Britain. 1,700 hospitalized in Wisconsin. Outbreak may reach near epidemic levels. 11th of January. Dangerous flu virus spreads across 46 states. 11th of January. So that's pretty much about. So I thought I'd just do a quick update on that, which is quite odd because it seems they're running out of IV drips there. I'm not sure what that means. It seems it's pretty bad there. So here is college fix here. Ohio State course reprimands white heterosexual masculinity. So seems like masculinity simultaneously harms yet privileges men, syllabus states. A class taught this spring at Ohio State University will review a parade of reasons why white heterosexual masculinity is allegedly problematic, tackling the topic from the constructs of racial issues, bullying, pop culture, societal expectations, and much, much more, according to the syllabus. It's actually teaching this at university. It seems like masculinity wasn't a bad thing in World War II when you had millions of men die fighting Hitler. I guess they say that Hitler is part of it. They're just all the same toxic masculinity. I don't know. But what about the times in the past when males protected, their offspring, against like literal monsters like lions and big animals that would try to kill everyone all the time? The past was harsh, right? And what is wrong? What are men doing that's crazy? Well, obviously that, you could say that most of the prison population, male prisons are far more violent than female prisons and all these kinds of things. But all these things stem from, in my opinion, the same thing, because you're comparing just violent crime and these things, and you're subscribing this to males. But look at societies that are functioning, that have good education systems, they don't have a high rate of drug abuse. And these things, look at somewhere, countries like that, where, look at small towns. Here, a good example is you could take any country and look at a very small town that doesn't have drugs and all these kinds of things. Crime is pretty much non-existent. It doesn't exist. The problem is in my opinion, the problem is with the community structures. You take anybody, male or female, and you put them in large industrial environments surrounded by strangers with none of the long-term community aspects that you get from living in small towns where everyone knows each other. Then you're putting human beings into a natural form of, attack mode. Because in evolutionary terms, the only time that human beings, or males or females, were surrounded by strangers was in a war environment, where they're taken by another tribe, or where you see strangers on the horizon and they're dangerous. That is written into our DNA. To see strangers is dangerous. It takes a while to acclimatize to that, so you're always in this anxious anxiety mode. I'm not saying it's directly perceivable. I'm not even saying people are aware of it, but it changes your behavior, as opposed to if you live in some small town where you know everyone. You know Janine, you know Gary, you know whoever, right? You've known them, you know their parents. You've known them all your lives. The town's only got a population of 300 people. It's probably a bit small, but that's, that would probably be the roundabout the size of a large tribe or something, right? Back in the days, maybe 1,000. Crime in these places, if it's like 300 people in a small English village or a small little a minute town in the United States or wherever, is non-existent. So take male and female from that environment, and you see that when you scale it up, when you change it and no one knows each other, when you take away community, education, ability to understand and become familiar with their environment in an ever-changing world, you get artificial creations. And you see it also in experimentation. Look at the mouse utopian experiment of overcrowding and, super resource and those kinds of things. If you don't know what that experiment is, there's lots of videos on it online, but to encapsulate it, it's where they provided these mice in a closed system, effluent, huge amounts of food. They could eat all they wanted. What they found is that the mice, instead of their population just growing until they couldn't really fit in the containment anymore, they actually started dying off, and they lost their way. They started eating their own tails, even though there was too much food. They started becoming very strange. There were these tiers of society that developed. Some mice just spent all their time grooming each other. They were referred to as quote-unquote the beautiful people, and so on and so forth. Well, the beautiful ones, or whatever it was. Famous experiment. If you want to check that out, I've done a video on it. Just type the outer light mouse utopian experiment, maybe like 6 months ago or something. But that's where all this comes from. But it's so, in this new world of social justice, it's really kind of just, they're judging people on the color of their skin, i.e. that's racist. It is racist, literally racist, although they don't call it racism. Yeah, it's like you're living in, like the Truth Factory says, clown world. Okay, it's like a clown world. There comes a point when irrational people act continuously so irrational over a period of time that they are insane. They become insane. That is their way of life. They do not see the world the same way everyone else does. This is insane. They should be pointing to, factors in the environment, but they're not. Whatever. Okay, so science now says, according to NBCnews.com, with the NBC logo, think there, probably a piece of like subtle perception, or whatever it's called, under awareness or whatever, I can't remember what I was talking about the other day. But science proves kids are bad for Earth. Morality suggests we stop having them. We need to stop pretending kids don't have environmental and ethical consequences, says this person here, and this was on just November 2017, so a few months ago. A startling and honestly distressing view is beginning to receive serious consideration in both the academic and popular discussions on climate change ethics. According to this view, by the way, I think climate change is caused by the magnetic sphere. Having a child and a major contributor to climate change, the logical takeaway here is that everyone on Earth ought to consider having fewer or less children. Here's the problem with all this, okay? Here is the problem with all of this kinds of stuff. This says everyone on Earth. That is not the case. That doesn't make any sense. The fact is you should be talking to China. And China's already got its own policies on children. They're in essence, they're just, in some aspects of China is dystopian, especially some aspects of the governmental system there, and they're kind of ruthless. I don't agree with, I'm not a communist, so I'm not like, into all of that. But the point is that you should be talking to places like India or lots of, countries within the African continent where birth rates are exploding. But they leave out all of that and they say everyone. Remember what's happening in the West, in general, Australia, America, the UK, Scotland, Ireland, All these places, right, the birth rate is dropping. Here is America, and this is from theweek.com. America's birth rate is now at a national emergency. So if you want to know why globalists like George Soros open the doors, it's because, you know, it's not because they care about refugees and any of this kind of stuff. They don't, in my opinion. They want to replace units in production. Okay, they want to keep the wages low. There's the conspiracy. And of course, there's a number of different strings of the reason and why they want this, but here's one of them, is they want to keep wages low within countries. They want a slave workforce. Okay, they want a debt workforce. They want new people coming in who can't speak the language, that have to borrow huge amounts of debt. They want to get them for very cheap amounts in order to keep their costs down within their multinational corporations. That's the secret, okay? The declining workforce means wages are pushed up because there's more of a demand on the skilled labor within it. If you flood a country full of cheap labor, it keeps the cost of the workforce low. That's why they want to open the floodgates. And that's why everyone that's doing this are globalists that run huge multinational corporations. Okay, so that's the reason. Even though the birth rates are falling, you get these kind of speeches from these soapboxes that say everyone has to have less children. That's not the reason why the country's population go up. Without immigration, New Zealand's population would be in negative decline. Without immigration, you know, America's population would start to become a negative decline, not have enough children to replace the birth rates there in the UK and so on and so forth. That's the reason for all this globalist philosophy of increased immigration. And what do they do with the immigrants that come in? People that, let's say from Syria, that cannot speak the language or any of these kinds of things? Well, they shadow them with vast amounts of debt. Okay, so they can collect interest on it. Meanwhile, who is the champion of all this? Guess what? It's the social justice warriors, which are paid off via Soros funds in order to propagate this narrative within society, like a needle being injected into some kind of patient. It's really just a complete propagating these kinds of things. And it works. It works. That's what's so crazy about it. Now the idea of being proud of your country or even having a flag in any country now in the West is seen as a negative. Why is that? It doesn't even make any sense. You can't even be, you know, it doesn't even make any sense. It's been twisted that way now. Just to reiterate this, why are men's sperm rates falling? Okay, I've gone on about this, so I'm not going to really go into the population too much. Sperm counts amongst Western men have halved in the last 40 years. That means in another generation. Okay, and remember this goes faster, not slower. This goes faster. So instead of another 40 years, probably another 25. You could have a Western population. This involves New Zealand, Australia, the United States, and all these kinds of places. You could have in 25 years, males in these countries could be infertile. Infertile. They cannot have offspring anymore. All of your, you know, isn't that interesting? Okay, here you have more news. Let's get off that. Oprah 2020 gets low ratings from voters. So it seems like Oprah's chances, if she did run for president of the United States, obviously she should have the support from should have the same kind of support Hillary Clinton got. You know, maybe not from the arms dealers, I don't know. But it looks like she might not be as popular as people think. The reason why is Oprah, you know, Donald Trump is a celebrity, but Donald Trump's also, you know, a business person that's dealt multinationally with all these different countries worldwide for decades, and he's built stuff and has a very, you know, a very high level understanding of the economy and things like that. You know, Oprah Winfrey is highly successful. Obviously, she's a businesswoman, she's highly successful, but she doesn't really have those kinds of tool sets. Obviously, she's also a friend of Harvey Weinstein, or was. You know, there's lots of photos of Oprah pretty much, you know, all over Harvey Weinstein, you know, hugging him, kissing him. She would have known, okay? She would have known, at least in my opinion. Of course she would. She had to have known. She's a billionaire that has access to people that know things. She actually ran a talk show that involved just non-stop gossip. So you think, obviously, she's aware of gossip. She's literally got a television PhD in gossip. So, of course, she knows about the gossip world. She would have known about Harvey Weinstein, all of these things. But she never said anything. She never said anything at all, because it would have cost her at that time. So now when it doesn't cost her, she says something. Okay? That is what it is. So obviously, President commented on this yesterday, got really good health results on neurological tests. So really got one here to see if, I think I've got it on the wrong thing here. Here it is right here actually. Revealed the cognitive test President Trump did for his medical exam, earning a perfect score. But can you do it? Try it and find out. So the first one was here, and what you've got to do according to this is you've got to go from one to another in a logical pattern. I could do it, but it took about a minute. Apparently that is the kind of level of the cognitive tests. One goes to A to 2, 2 to B probably, B to 3, 3 to C, and then 4, and then D, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So it's not that complicated, but it kind of does make you think about it. It's not an easy, you know, you have to think about the test just to show that you're, you know, that you can think, I guess, logically and rationally. So that's what Donald Trump did there. So there's been a breakthrough here at Daily Mail again. Edges. Oh, well, let's just take, I'll just get my drink of water, hold on. So this is good news for anyone that's addicted to cocaine, or I guess drugs. Breakthrough edges scientists one step closer to a cure for cocaine addiction as they turn off a protein that causes users to crave the Class A drug. If I was addicted to cocaine, I'd probably just go to an island and do it old school. I'm not sure I want scientists turning off proteins or whatever in my body. But whatever. I mean, you know, obviously drugs wreck people's lives, so, you know, it might be good for some people. A breakthrough edges scientists, so this is really coming out of, you know, the new research here. Mice were repeatedly given cocaine, have higher levels of certain protein known as GCSF in their brain, which accumulates in a region associated with reward. Injecting a protein in this brain region neutralizes GCSF, reducing the animal's desire for the powdery substance. The study found in the US about 1.4% of people aged between 18 and 24 take cocaine at least once a month. 1.4%. I never thought it would be that high. That's a crazy amount of people. 1.4% of a population of what? Of the United States. That's crazy. Like taking cocaine at least once a month. I suppose once a month isn't actually a hardcore addict, is it? It's more kind of a recreational kind of user of that drug. It's probably taking it once a month. What is that really? Just 12 times a year? I mean, it's a bit. It's vastly more than I've ever taken it, which is 0. You know, I don't even drink alcohol. Okay, I might have a beer, you know, with a meal like once in a blue moon or something like that. Don't get me wrong, when I was younger, yeah, I used to drink alcohol. Like everybody, okay? New Zealand's just full of people that are drinking all the time. They just drink. That's all they do. But, you know, that's quite high. And I guess it's recreational. I'm not sure. I don't even know what cocaine does to people. But if you can get to the point where you're so addicted to it, you're like robbing houses and stuff like that, then it's not really a train you want to get on, you know. If you get on the train, hey, this is the cocaine train. At the end of the tunnel, you're lifting car stereos out of country, out of cars in order to pay for your habit. Then that's probably not a train you want to step on into the beginning. The problem is they get things as kids, and kids, they just don't really know. You go, jump off that bridge. Oh yeah, let's do it. I know, I've done that before, literally. I've jumped off a cliff, okay? A big, high cliff. Jumped off it a few times, actually. That just used to be the way of it. You know, jumping off into the freshwater river. It's like the rapids, really. It's moving so fast. You know, I was at school once. I won't even go into that story, but you know, you do all kinds of crazy stuff, you know, and real stupid stuff when you're a kid. Hey, close your eyes when you're driving, you know, for 10 seconds, you know, real dumb stuff. I mean, no wonder, like, the thing is, like, when adults look back at what you do as a teenager, they think, what were you thinking, you know? What were you thinking? I'm still alive, though, okay? I'm still here, so get through it. But I've seen some pretty whack stuff, I'll put it that way. Not anything like illegal, highly illegal or anything, just dumb stuff that people have done, like people jumping on the back of a bread truck, and like going for in back of a train. I remember once I jumped onto the back of a train and rode it like for about 30 miles. I've done stuff like that. It's crazy. Mind you, I guess that's not that bad. I mean, the train isn't going very fast. You know, it's not like a high-speed train. Just like a train with boxes. You know, it's dangerous, right? But, people do it all the time. They're just called hobos or whatever. I did it. That is what it is. I mean, but it's a strange world, isn't it? I mean, hopefully maybe cures for these kinds of things can help people. You always want these cures to reduce suffering in the world, hopefully. So we'll see what happens. So The Last Jedi, the shine and glitter is wearing off. Last Jedi here, Star Wars The Last Jedi pulled from China just after 2 weeks. They had enough. You know, what gets me about all this is the fact that all these intellectual places, all these kind of magazines and all these things, they're all on the bandwagon of blaming the viewer of the movie for the reasons they don't like it. They're blaming the person's ideology. Maybe they're kind of like, don't like seeing women in strong roles. Or they're blaming all these things. First off, that isn't a thing, obviously, because people love Aliens. It's got Sigourney Weaver in it, okay? She's a woman. The only difference is Aliens is widely regarded as a great movie. That's the difference, okay? It hasn't got to do with female characters. It's got to do with characters that are believable. And someone that's just the best at everything, because they're the best at everything, doesn't even make any sense. There's no emotional journey of the character, okay? You know, I'm not going to go into it. I've done a 2-hour review on it, so I mean, you can watch that if you want. But the common thread here, as I've been noticing, is they just blame the viewer for their prejudice or problems as to why they didn't enjoy the movie. You know, oh, you didn't like my book because you just aren't smart enough to understand it. I mean, that's pretty much the narrative. Or you didn't like my book because you're just a fascist or something. I mean, what is this? Can't anyone just say didn't like the movie because it's stupid and it didn't have a good storyline? I understand some people like the movie. I think it's about 50-50 here. I mean, some people enjoyed it. Good. If you enjoyed it, that's great. But you've got to understand, if people say they don't enjoy it, I mean, it's not because they can't understand it or something. Maybe they just don't enjoy it because they're used to different types of movies. Used to these movies that have the architecture of the hero's journey, perhaps, which Star Wars The Last Jedi doesn't. And I said one of the main problems with Star Wars The Last Jedi is this. It's written like a TV series, which it is. It's a series that's going to go on forever. That's their intention, to have like 50 Jedi movies. that isn't that isn't a standalone movie. That is an episodic TV series, and you can see it in its construction of the amount of storylines in it. You know, a TV show like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you see multiple different storylines. You see one storyline, them going and doing something at the graveyard. You come back to the main character, they're doing something. They go off to another character, they're doing something. And, you know, the main character is important, but so are those other storylines. And sometimes you might see the same TV show where they don't even go to the main character, which is named after or whatever. I haven't seen a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've probably seen half an episode. So, I don't know. But it's popular, right? Then that's what Jedi is. It's written like a TV show. It doesn't stay with one main character. It's not an enclosed story. So it's just full of loose ends and things that don't... So that means that the story of them, just the whole entire movie of them being chased, is like an episode of Star Trek. Okay, if you watch Star Trek The Next Generation, except in my opinion, worse than Star Trek. Okay, just because of the amount of money that was spent on it. But some people liked it, and hey, I get that. And if you liked it, hey, that's a good thing, you know, that you can be entertained by things. And maybe it's not important to you. And if it's just a TV series, for a TV series, you know, it's not bad. If it was a TV series, I would look at that and go, oh, it was just a bad episode, that's all. But it wasn't a bad overall, it's just a bad episode. And if you look at it as just a TV series, then you're like, yeah, okay, it's alright. I mean, they killed Luke and off pretty much, and all these things to, you know, pretty much, how can you have Star Wars without Luke Skywalker? I mean, it doesn't even make any sense, but you can't have, they're trying to build up Rey in order to get rid of Luke. Okay, so let's really go the palate cleanser here at 45 minutes. And I forgot again. I forgot to do it again. It's like I need to have a note on the screen or something. I'm supposed to go through all the news very quickly and then go into my longer rants a bit later. I apologize. But there wasn't really that many things happening. It's not like you know, some big news at the moment. It's not a lot of stuff, so... Excuse me. But we'll do that tomorrow if we get some news. So here we go. This is 25 times animals experienced snow for the first time and their faces say it all. Allegedly, I'd say. I don't mean to be a cynic, but this is most likely a construction, okay? These are just photos, okay? There's no provenance behind it, no history that says like these are actual, the animals experiencing snow for the first time. But if you dispel belief for the beginning of this, just like you doing some kind of fairy tale when you're a kid, then maybe we can have a look at it. So here's a look at it. That's a polar bear apparently experiencing snow for the first time. Of course, you'll notice a reaction between animals that love the cold and animals that don't here. So polar bear obviously is having such fun. They're licking the snow. They've pushed their muzzle down in the snow. They just love it. Look at that little cute little bear. He loves the snow. Of course, polar bears are not cute when they get a bit larger. They're extremely dangerous animals. They don't get more dangerous than a polar bear. I don't mean to put a negative spin on everything. This is the palate cleanser. But cute when they're small. It's just like a lion cub, right? Oh, he's a cute little lion cub. Look at his big, large paws. And, you know, and then you think, wow, when he gets, you know, if he gets larger, he could be eating my head. Literally. Just got to remember it's a wild animal. So there are some people that train these things to live in their homes. I don't get that. I don't get how someone could live with a tiger sleeping next to them, or a lion. Or a polar bear. I mean, I just can't understand that. But it happens. Here's a cat. See, this is a cat apparently. This isn't a real cat, of course. If you don't know, most of these animals look like this because of human interference and breeding. No cat in the wild looks like that, okay? They look like a minx or something like that, or a lynx. What is it? I can't remember the name of it. Is that it? That's how they look. They're sleek, fast moving, okay? They're built for speed. They're not just covered in fur. But humans find this cute, I guess. So what they do is they breed them to look like this, and that you can see the difference even with a German Shepherd 100 years ago. Photos taken of German Shepherds and German Shepherds today. they don't look as look the same. And those German Shepherds were already bred, okay, from other dogs years ago. But without human interference, this thing would not be alive in the wild. Look at it. It can't even take the snow. It's going crazy. Look at that crazy face. It's too cold. Well, that cat shouldn't be out in the snow to begin with, okay? That cat's not built for the snow. You can see the difference in the fur. You see this kind of fur? That kind of thin fur? That's not fur for snow, right? That's fur for aesthetic reasons. Fur for snow, like a polar bear snow fur or husky, is really kind of tight. You know, the weave is kind of a bit of a tight fur that traps the air. That doesn't. That doesn't trap the air. That's not going to work. Look at this puppy. This puppy looks like it's having fun. Kind of strange name there. I can't remember what that name. I don't know how to say that name of that puppy, but of course that's a cute little dog. They'll be alright in the snow. Probably won't like it. Look at that husky. That thing loves the snow. Okay, but look at this fur. It's kind of tightly woven for that. Apparently it's translucent, a bit translucent. I'm not sure why that is. Not sure why. Look at those cold, kind of icy blue grey eyes there. Beautiful animal though. Look at it. Beautiful dog. And look at that. Exactly like the polar bear. Okay, they love the snow. Just pushing its muzzle down there in the snow. Not freaking out there. You know, you can't really have huskies in warmer climates. You see, people have huskies, and of course everyone wants a husky. I mean, it's a beautiful dog, but that dog's not made to live in, some kind of hot place or even moderately warm. I mean, they spend half their times like suffering with their tongue out, It's hard for them. I guess people have air conditioning, right? So if you have your dog inside and have it cold enough, they'll be fine, but it'll be very hard for that kind of dog in a hot climate. Look at this dog. Look at it. It's like going crazy. Because obviously it's weird. It's a weird dog. Look at this cat jumping around there in what looks like, I guess it's a bit of snow there on the ground, a bit of powder there. Cynical part of me doesn't even think that looks right. Okay? But it is. Obviously it's snow. Jumping around there. There's something about the ground, okay? I would expect the snow to stick to it, to have a bit of ice there, but maybe it does have some ice, I don't know. Look at this dog. Got this dog up here. It's freaking out. It's like buried in the snow. It shouldn't be in the snow. It looks like someone buried it in there. Why is it in the snow like that? That's dangerous for that dog. Could freeze to death. Look at this dog. Look at this cat. Look at like covered in ice. That's not made for that kind of weather, unfortunately. Okay, that cat doesn't look like it's made for that. Look at this cat. Just stand there. I think it's at the window. It wants to come in. Let me in. No, you can't come in here. Oh wow, this dog's like jumping around. Looks like some kind of pug dog or something. These things are like obviously these animals are nice creatures, they're very cute and things like that. But a dog like that wouldn't survive in the wild. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't survive. It's not fast enough to hunt anything. It's too slow. It's just this is a project of human breeding, really. I might get a link after this. Actually, I'm going to go to a link here. I'll be back 1 second. I'm just going to get a link on the breeding differences in animals. Hold on. Okay, just over at a Daily Mail article here. How man has changed. Not very politically correct there, Daily Mail. That should be how men and women, humans, have changed his best friend. How 100 years of intensive breeding. Of course, I don't care about being political correct. Just say whatever you want. I was just joking. How 100 years of intensive breeding has left some dogs' breeds and unrecognizable and in pain. Okay, so I know this isn't a good palate cleanser, but let's just take a look at it. I mean, I've just done the palate cleanser and back to the negativity world. Let's get rid of that. Well, we'll blow this up a little bit, I think. Get rid of that one too. Not sure, how do we go through these photos? There's no button to press to go through them. Press that button. Not really working, is it? Hold on, I'll be back 1 second. Okay, so we'll just go down on screen here. So it's got them. A terrier then versus now. So here we have the terrier now. Look at that thing. Look at its muzzle and stuff. It kind of looks like something out of Hellraiser. Of course, some of these animals are cute to people, but there's no doubt that it's changed quite significantly from that, which looks like a dog. Okay, it's kind of very built and strong, to that now, with that kind of muzzle and kind of weird look about it. And its eyes, look at how small its eyes are. Well, I guess they're pretty small there too, but that's how much that's changed. Look at that, a basset hound. Even back then, that's not really an animal that could exist in the wild, and look at it now. Wow. Now, basset hounds have huge amounts of problems with their backs and their eyes because of this breeding towards... People like this really sad kind of look in animals, but it's not good for the animal to look like that. Look at the difference in 100 years. That's crazy. Look how it used to look. I mean, it's obviously got problems. I mean, it's, you know, look at it there, but look at it now. It's crazy. Okay, this dog, which is a boxer, classical boxer dog there, that dog there, and now look at it. Okay, so that's kind of weird. Its legs are really whack. And its back. It's pretty hard for it to walk around like that. Before being turned into working dogs, the boxer had a longer face and longer downward tail. So it had a tail like that. Well, you don't see dogs like that. Isn't it strange how things change around us? We don't tend to notice. Obviously, it's 100 years. Modern day boxer. Kind of looks a bit weird. Okay, this is like what you call a sausage dog, I guess. And even then, back then, I mean, look at it. Okay, it's long snout. I guess it could still move around though. What's it look like to... Oh my god. Look at the length of that. Yeah, it's like it's almost deformed, isn't it, really? I mean, it's kind of sad. Here's the German Shepherd I was talking about. Look at that German Shepherd there. Now look at it. It's terrible. Now look at the difference in that animal compared to that. Obviously, it doesn't look the same, does it, really? That thing looks like a machine. Okay, this looks like a machine ready to go. Obviously, German Shepherds are still big dogs. And when they're photographing these, you've got to understand they've got a bias. They want to show how much these have changed. So not all German Shepherds look like that. A lot of them are larger. Obviously, these bigger dogs still exist. Look at that. Okay, that's a pug dog. Even back then, that thing would not live in the wild. Look at its tail. Oh my god, look at it. Look at it today. Look at it. It even looks sad. It's terrible. I don't know. When you look at stuff like this, it's just kind of a bit depressing. I mean, look at that kind of stuff. There's a Saint Bernard. Now that must not have changed that much. I know they're still big. Look at the size of that tail. Oh wow, it has changed quite a bit. It looks like some kind of stuffed, what is it called? Something cute, stuffed toy or something. Huge dog though. Doesn't look that big compared to that man there. Maybe that man's just really tall. I thought they were... I know the Canadian Mounties or something. Didn't they have like a thing of rum around them? Maybe that was a myth. I remember that's a thing that was used. They said that that they carry a little bit of rum around their neck or something to warm people up. But in actual fact, alcohol cools down your your body, so it wasn't exactly a good thing. But it would have kept your spirits high. That was the main thing, right? It kept your spirits high. So here we go. Here is an English bulldog. Look at that. It looks a bit... Obviously, that's even a product if you went back 500 years ago. This dog didn't exist. Okay, they were just, you know, be just hunting dogs. But look at it now. Wow, look at all the skin on it now. Yeah, it's not like a dog that's going to last long, I think. They just have a lot of problems with their eyes and probably infections and stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe you see dogs like that. I'm not sure, but that's an English bulldog today. Well, that's it, really. Still beautiful animals, aren't they? You know, is what it is. I mean, it's life, isn't it? Oh, we could have gone to this link. It has a few there which you can compare. Slight adjustments. Anyway, reaching 55 minutes here. I'll head off now. You know, go out and take a look. I mean, maybe you disagree with me. Obviously, a lot of people have dogs and pets, so probably like the pets the way they are, and that's fine. Go and do your own research, of course. Decide for yourselves what to believe. And this is Ed from the Outer Light channel and the DailyRabbitHole.com. Stay safe, and I'll see you all later.